What's up, YouTube? Crystals are the common ground. So basically, the common mediator between each dimension would be a crystal. Whether it's LCD screens, whether it's blood, because that's liquid crystal. You have different mediators, for different dimensions. So we look at the 2D world, because the 2D world would be, of course, Facebook, Instagram, TV. That's all the second dimension, because we're looking at it flat. It's a flat perspective. It's like what they say, you can't look for the radio host in the radio. So you're looking at this flat perspective that's being brought to you through crystals, through liquid crystal displays and other various crystals. So, and you're observing it through crystal, because of course the blood itself is crystal. And you're becoming more crystallized as you look at the more crystallized dimensions, the more hellish or more dense dimensions. So you got these images of people that were entertainers or supposedly famous people, and they're famous in the 2D. If you create an avatar in the 2D, like you make a Facebook, an Instagram, and you focus on that, that's Qliphoth. That's a hell that is even lower than the third dimension. So it's the second dimension. It's flatter. It has that perspective, a flat perspective that is not as full. So the people that are successful in these realms, or the avatars, I shouldn't say the people, because it's an avatar, it's a piece of energy, a piece of essence that's being calcified and further crystallized as this multidimensional being focuses on that facet of their being. So if you're multidimensional and you focus on the 2D or the 3D part of you that you create, then you are siphoning all your energy from the higher or the less dense frequencies into this lower hell. It's just like I was saying a couple videos before, like you sling your seed around, the succubus takes the energy, converts it into something 3D, which creates more clutter, and until that turn gets burned into ash or changes form, or so the energy can return and transform, then it will be a clutter in your life. It'll be a 3D or 2D clutter. One way or another, it will create some type of blockage between you and yourself. So to transmute that, it really just comes down to, you can burn some stuff. You could, it could be anything. You could give things away. It's a lot of things you could do to return energy to its source and pay back your debts to yourself. But it always ultimately comes down to harnessing the control of the breath, because the breath changes the pressure of this place, this existence or insistence, whatever. So each breath changes the pressure. If you're breathing shallow, collectively, if we create that, then we expand the shallow aspects of life, which would be all the things that come from being shallow, all the behaviors that come with that. The more we focus on that, the more we breathe that way. So as you change your breathing patterns, you'll change, of course, the whole pattern of this existence itself. So the energy has to come back. It always does come back, and people only neglect that when it doesn't come back in the way they wanted it to, because they didn't consciously transmute it. At some point in the process, ignorance occurred and they ignored this transformation that was taking place. They forgot, and they were forgetting, so they forgot. So what we have is pretty much a bunch of people that are multidimensional. And I shouldn't say a bunch, because there's really not that many people on Earth. It's only like a handful of people, really, in the 3D. Real people in the 3D. It's really only but so many real people. Most people are fragments, because again, like I said, the blood is crystal that keeps pieces of an essence here as well. So somebody that's a multidimensional person, or entity, I should say, might have a piece of their energy in the 3D, and they peer through it, person. They look through sound, because the body is auditory thinking. So that is, persona, or peering through, is what happens when someone fragments and creates basically a portal into a dimension or a layer. So, or a layer, because the body is a layer, like Batman's lair. So however you want to look at it, a layer or a layer, the body is the dimension. You're in that dimension. That's what that body is personifying, and it can only see itself. You can't ignore yourself. It's like being in a padded room and looking at different parts of it and acting like it's not all pad. It's all the same thing. You know, it's just different angles. So if we look at it in a more holistic approach, we can transcend that and move beyond that. But we have a lot of the real people, the real architects of this thing, focusing on these avatars, these propped up straw men that we see in the 2D, and people really feel like that their lives are real. But yeah, it's real for the 2D, which is a lower hell than the 3D. So it's like being to be successful in the 2D or the 3D is like being the smartest kid with autism. It's really that. So it really is a funny thing where we got our values are flipped around, where people want things that come from hell and neglect things that come from peace. So it is what it is. It's just the reality. That's what the dimensions are. People have different cool ways of explaining the dimensions, whether it be the Pal Tarot, the Tree of Life, any of these things that show you where you're at. If you have a certain thought, or if you're next to a certain person in your life, it's a certain spot on your own body, which is the dimensions, and that's what you're experiencing, and that's what you observe, and that's what is, until you transcend that state of being. And the only way to do that is to integrate every part of you. The only way to do that is to catch up on the breathing, and then the more you do that, the more you see the returns on your investments. You only have so many breaths, supposedly, so every breath is an investment. You're focusing on something with every breath, and it has to come back. The energy has to boomerang. So only time that people see stress or lack is when they neglect the returns on their creation. So that's the dimensions in a nutshell. It's that simple. It's not like you leave this place and you're like, I just teleported to the 5th dimensions. I know you bring the 5th dimension and you integrate it back into you, and you have it all here. And if you were into that state of total dematerializing, literally dematerializing, not being materialistic, you would evaporate and come and go, and you're not going to even be interested in the places where you could be seen by mortals, because the more you observe by people that call themselves mortals, the more mortal intentions slip into your body, because you're not solid. So it's all about your focus and what you allow.